Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another video on the center on ARK Survival Ascended. And today we're rebuilding another ruin. This time is right over here on the side of the river, and it's quite a long one. It's not a straight line, so I had to do a little bit of overlapping to make this work, so it won't work this way unofficial. And as you can see, I added a building at the front. It's a Japanese inspired build because that's what I build around these ruins in this area, but of course feel free to add any building you want on the little block in front if you want to do something similar. I think it's quite a nice place, and again, this is a pretty easy way at least to get started with the base, because once you have the foundations on the inside, that's pretty much all you need. Maybe a gate to keep yourself safe and have a pretty sizable starter base, and even for the long term it's a pretty nice place. And especially this one with the big platform on top, you could definitely extend here and build more and more in this area. These are the exact coordinates along the river, so this is where the ruins are located, and there's a bunch of other ruins of course in this area. I have videos out for those as well if you want to continue your whole base to those as well. So let's do a quick little look of what I've done, and then of course we'll go into the build itself and I'll show you my process for this ruin. So I've added a couple of these Japanese inspired details like the torii gate on the side. We got one leading to the other ruins there as well, and then this building here on front in the middle part, because that was kind of sticking out and I felt it needed something. A statue would have been great, but that's kind of hard to do, so I went with a building just to fill it in a little bit and to tie this area together, because as I mentioned, I'm adding more buildings in this area and they're all in this style, so it kind of ties those two together. Then it's a pretty sizable ruin actually, so you have two of these entrances going inside, and then if you go all the way to the right, you have a side exit as well, which is right over here to the jungle and the platform, and as well the little staircase that we had the torii gate at the start. So yeah, you have an extra entrance. I'm using mostly these gates as entrances, so that means that you can easily take in some of your tames, for example your Enki, Doeds, stuff like that you need for collecting materials easily in and out. And we also have a bunch of these platforms, these balconies on the side, which basically allow you to easily land your flyers as well. And I'm also using the plants as protection, of course. These lanterns are custom cosmetics from the J Cosmetics, and they are standing torches, so an easy way to light your place. And again, for me, really ties everything together in the same style. As you can see, you've got a lot of space here to place down pretty much everything you need to start crafting, a little bit of storage as well. And then this I decorated as a kind of bedroom here with a bunch more storage and a little separation here with a wall as well. And then for me, finally, that's not going to be included in the build, I added a little staircase to the next layer because, as I said, I'm rebuilding more of the ruins in this location, so I'm just trying to tie that all together. And then over here, this might mean that you can't build on every server maybe, because there is actually a cave down here. I don't know if it's an artifact cave, so if it will block building here or something, but yeah, I'm just made those gates there, and then we have this as a little secret in our base. Yeah, not sure what is in the cave, but there is a cave there, so that's why I blocked this off with two gates here as well. So yeah, pretty nice size of a base. And then of course, if you do add this building, you have a little bit more room here even to, yeah, have more storage or whatever you want in the front of the base as well, with some amazing views. Now, some of this building obviously is using some modded structures like these windows, but for the most part you should be able to build it in normal ARK. All you would need to change, for example, these corners, because those are now like shallow sloped roofs, which of course normally you only have the ramps. What I normally do is make it stick out just as far as I did the normal roof, and then from here I overlap it by a half. So instead of lining it up with the full walls, I use a quarter wall on the corner here to make sure that I can stick out by a half roof, and that's then kind of the corner that you create. You can see it on a bunch of the other Japanese building tutorials that I have on the channel already. But for the rest, you can definitely also just build this with normal ARK structures. Yeah, I think it's a pretty nice base, and I love rebuilding these ruins as I do on every map, of course. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy, and let's get into some building. Okay, so today we're doing another ruin, and of course we're gonna start out by lining up some foundations. I'm doing them here at the top of the stairs for the entrance of the ruin. So I want to have a gate right here at the top of the stairs, and I'm probably gonna have to do a bunch of overlapping because it's not really straight lines. So here on the other sides there's more stairs, and we're gonna do a separate foundation lining them up with the front again. Let's see if that all fits in nicely. I think it is. It's all right. As I said, we'll have a little bit of overlapping going on, but it blends in pretty nicely using these Adobe foundations. So I think it's fine. Got overlapping on anyways, and it's gonna allow me to just rebuild this whole ruin in a more natural sense and have shapes fit better than if you were to use only the normal patterns and the normal grid that you can get with normal ARK snapping, because there's a lot of turns and twists in this one. But yeah, this way we can do nice lines for every part of the ruin. This side is actually not that difficult. This is still quite straight, very much a straight line, but the other side will be a little bit more tricky. So for now, just start filling this all in with foundations. For some reasons we can't really do that there. Not quite sure what that's about. Maybe if we use a ceiling we could fix it, because sometimes ceilings for some reason you can place in places where you're not allowed to do foundations. There we go. Okay, we can fill that in at least. It should have enough support. Probably not going to really place any stuff down there anyway. And then we'll do this foundation here as well, just filling it all in everywhere we can go. And of course we'll have a little bit of that overlap going on, but it should all be pretty much fine. There's a lot of plans here, but I won't take them out until I start decorating, because in some parts I might actually like to keep them as a little bit of an extra decoration. And then this gap we're just gonna overlap in a way so that, you know, you don't see any little gaps between the foundations. That would be not so nice. And then for the rest of this, we should just be able to fill in all the foundations, already getting a quite nice base size where you can do all the things you need to do and place everything you want to place. So yeah, that's basically the one half, or at least the one side next to the staircase done. Speaking of the staircase, I think we also want to line up this right here from this corner. Make sure that it lines up to the other side nicely as well. And then we can slowly overlap it back into the main ruin. See how it connects up. Looks quite nice so far. And I'm not quite sure what I want to build here. Probably just adding a little bit of a building here, because I think it would be nice to tie everything together with the builds I'm doing in this area, as well as get even more space. It's quite hard to see, but I'm just trying to make sure that we are overlapping into the normal main space. I might need to take out these plants just to see a little bit better, because I'm placing random stuff right now. It's quite hard to see. Let's place in some ceilings. That should probably be fine. And yeah, it's really hard to see. Maybe I should just take out these plants, because this connection is going to be important, because we're going to have to connect this with some kind of doors. It's going to be right next to our entrance. So I want to make sure that this looks good and this all works fine. I think we did it right on the left side, but we just need to make sure that we also fill it in here. Let's see. Yeah, like that and like that should be fine. It's all connected up, and it already gives us a good start here. Let's see how the gates will look. So we'll have one gate on the one side, of course, with the stairs, and then the other one on the other side with the stairs. That's going to be our main entrances, and then I'm going to have some pillars as supports to connect it to the ground as well, and as well to the top here, to the cliff side. Do that on both sides. Need to get the right snap points here that we have The same one on both sides. Do this on this gate as well. Should be able to connect it nicely. And then also back to the cliff again. Yeah, so that's already a nice start for our entrance. We want to make sure that looks a little bit nicer. So I think what we want to do is get a stair to actually connect the foundations into the normal staircase properly. Yeah, that looks perfect. There we go. So it's not just floating. And then here, I think what we're gonna do is just place another foundation here so we can have a side gate. And then we have all the exits and entrances nicely blocked off in a way that we can actually, you know, make sure that the base is safe. We don't want to overlap into the staircase, I think. So maybe some these quarter foundations. I really like that they've added those. Those are great. And then on this side we'll have, I guess, a gate like that sticks a little bit out too much. Maybe go back a little bit. It will be partially in the rocks, but I think that will blend in nicer. It will make, probably it looks like it makes more sense than having it stick out too much. But of course, I mean, you could do whatever you want. If you want the extra bit of space, go for it. You could even build like a little extension to the base on this side, of course, and just have it connect back to the ruin and the cave, basically. We'll have some of these pillars to connect up to the cliff structure. And then just fill in the walls so that we don't have any random opening somewhere. I don't think we're gonna add too many details here on this side because it is quite small after all. You don't really see that much, and I think we just want to fill it in, blend it into the walls of the cliff. And yeah, I think that should actually be perfectly fine like this. And of course you want to actually fill in the gate so that we have our nice entrance here into the jungle. I think that looks good. It's quite, you know, blended in with the cliffside, but I think I like that for this because it's a little bit more of a hidden entrance or exit, I think. And at least this way, we would still be able to bring tames in and out from this side if we wanted to have access to that side entrance. And then here, let's add in the gates as well because, yeah, we're gonna have to see if we can make these main entrances work and see if we can fill in some kind of wall to make this all look nice. I think we probably can. We'll start with those right above. And then here to the side, I think I'm just going to try and connect it with the pillars. So with some quarter walls. Because, I mean, I don't want to have walls going in everywhere. Because most of the archers I want to keep free. So if I can just connect them to the pillars, that will save me a lot of time. I think that works pretty well. Maybe if we add a proper pillar, we could then make it connect back. Fill that in. I think that's enough. That's probably enough. We just want to make sure that the front is safe and the rest you can't really access anyway. We'll have some doors right there because whatever we're going to build here in the middle, definitely want to make sure that we can go in and out and connect to the main base. And then I think we're going to do something similar here by trying to keep the pillar free and just connecting the walls into the pillars. I mean, yeah, I don't want to hide the whole pillar from the outside, I think. So we'll do some quarter walls like this on the side. Just until the cliff. And then we can probably connect them back up to the pillar and connect the walls that way. I think that's going to be best. Let's see. So we'll just connect that up to the top. Then we'll have, of course, that pillar connect all the way to the top as well. It's not quite centered around the pillar, of course, because we centered it around the staircase, and ARK doesn't have the ruins be the same distances and same sizes, of course, as normal structures, but it's fine. It will work. It will work. And then we can just have normal walls above the doors, of course, connecting up to the cliff. I don't think we need to do anything fancy. It would be nice if we could create some nice looking big banners to hang on the walls. But for here, I think we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to have a pillar going all the way to the top, which already should fill in most of this gap. And then maybe we'll just have a normal wall connecting the two with each other to really fill in the last remaining gaps and making sure it's all nicely connected and there's no gaps looking in from the outside. I think that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that looks alright. It's not perfect, but I think it's good enough, especially if we're going to build a house here on the front anyway. We'll not see it that much. And then here we'll do the same. We'll start with some quarter walls and basically connect it to the pillar that way so that these gaps are filled in. And yeah, you don't really notice it when you're looking in from the outside like that. I think the pillar actually does enough. That's a gap closed, so that will be our main entrances. And then, yeah, we can start on whatever else we want to add. I think what I'm going to do is a bunch of little smaller balconies along the outside of the other arches. Because, I mean, it's nice. You get a little bit of extra space. It's easy to land flyers there. And I just like the idea of, like, building these newer additions to the ruins as being, like, scaffolding, adding to the existing monuments, the existing ruins. Always like the look of that, so we just go with an easy shape like this. We'll have some railings, adobe railings on the ruin side, and then of course we'll do some wooden railings alongside the actual platforms to keep it all safe and on theme, like so. And then we're pretty much done almost with this one side. We do, of course, if you have ASR, I would suggest these smaller pillars, which is great. I really hope we do get those eventually in normal ARK because they are amazing. And it seems like something that they could definitely just add in with all the variations that we've already gotten so far. Just makes it a little bit nicer to have those. And then with the scaffolding from the Frontier pack, we can have some proper support. But you could also use normal wooden slope walls to get pretty much the same thing. And then we'll continue on the foundations on the other side by filling in this layer attached to the other gate. And then we're going to repeat the trick here. So we're going to line up the foundations with the next part of the ruin. Again, trying to get the right height. It's a little bit below the start of these pillars. And then this should connect up quite nicely. And then we'll start filling in the foundations and the gaps as well, probably with these normal ceilings. Let's see what will look better. I think that will pretty much do it. Can't use foundations yet, so we'll do some more ceilings there. And now we should be able to fill it in with foundations all the way through. We can also go through these gates, I guess, and fill in the last little bit. And then we'll see how far this foundation can actually go before the ruins turn away from me again. I think that is probably as far as we go, so we'll connect this back with a straight line, and then we can fill in everything in between those. And I mean, this is what I mean when I say these ruins you can really easily and quickly turn into bases, because once you got the right foundation snap point on the outside, it's just a matter of filling them in with foundations and you're pretty much good to go. You can use it as a base. It's quite safe. It's quite a lot of space you can have, and I mean, there's even more ruins around if you wanted to. Okay, for the next part, we're gonna do the same thing from this corner, lining up the foundation in the right spot without it being like too weirdly placed, aligning it with the ruins, making sure we go to the right level, which is right below this part of the pillars that should be, and then it kind of make sure that it lines up nicely. I think that lines up good enough. And then here I'm gonna have to use a couple of ceilings, and then probably here we can do something similar with like a smaller ceiling. That should totally work. And then we can fill in the rest of the foundations again like we did before. Yeah, it's not that hard. These ruins on the center are pretty straightforward once you get down the first foundations for the looks. Here we do the same thing again. We're gonna align the foundation with the ruins, make sure it's the right height, and then just overlap it into the existing part. And then I think this should probably take us all the way to the end of the ruin, and then we can just start filling in everything so that we have one big foundation, and we can use all the available space in the ruins to make a pretty extensive base, and a pretty cool one. Again, great view, the arches look great, and of course you can divide them up into separate rooms, which is something that I might do for this one for sure. Add a couple of dividers in the ruin, because otherwise it's just one big hallway and it's a little bit harder to make a nice base. I'll fill in the last remaining ceilings to make sure that there is no gaps remaining. And there we go. That should be everything. That should be it. It looks quite nice. Yeah, I think that works. We got the whole way through with foundations. Here, however, I would like to make some kind of gate, because this back part, I don't know if things can spawn there in the cave. I don't know what is in the cave, so I'm gonna make sure that it is safe. So I'm actually gonna remove a couple of the foundations that we did through the entrances of these arches, so that we can maybe align the actual gateways with the arches that are there, like we did for the front. So I'm gonna remove a couple of foundations around here, just so that it doesn't snap anymore, and we can actually try and get the gates in the right way. Now, probably a little bit of trial and error to see in what way we can align the foundations and we can actually use the gateways, because we could do it like this if we want to do normal doors, but I think we want to go for gates again. So probably around the middle of the pillar is where we want to have a foundation. Those gates are too wide. I don't know if this is gonna work. We'll have to see. It kind of works for this one, but the second one we can't place then. Because that would look quite nice, but maybe we align them a little bit differently and we can make it work. So we go for the exact middle of this middle pillar. That looks good, and then we'll lower it down again. Place down the foundations. I think this should work. Works for that one, and it works for that one. There we go. That looks pretty good. So we can have two proper gates to keep this little extra cave or extra entrance safe. Can't have any pillars, but I think that's probably gonna be fine, because we're already kind of integrated with the main structure. Yeah, it's not gonna let me place anything there. So now we just connect this foundation back to the main room that was already here, like so, and then just fill in all the gaps again now that we have the gates in place, and we'll have our nice home completed in the way that we want to see it. And we can close off these gates to this extension of the cave, to this underwater part, and whatever is there. Just make sure that our home is going to be safe, basically. I think that definitely works. And yeah, that is the basic of the ruin. Now we continue with a couple of these landing platforms. I'm going to do them 4x4 in most places. Maybe that's going to be 2. And then we'll do one here again, another 4. And then, of course, we're going to do... The last layer is going to be a... yeah, triangle ceilings to get a little bit more shape into these scaffolding platforms, which we can use for flyers, just to have a nice balcony and enjoy the view. It just gives a little bit more space. Even some plants we could put on it. And then we're going to continue the adobe railings for the ruin part. And here, I don't know if we can actually place this, because this is going to stick out a little bit. I don't know if I like that in this way. Probably not. I'm probably just going to keep that gap, because it's going to extend to the... Yeah, it's not going to look nice. I don't want to have that in the middle. I think we're probably just going to have that gap. I doubt we're going to fit through that anyway. So we'll just continue with the railings all the way until the end. There we go. And then, of course, we'll have wooden railings alongside these balconies that we've made. Just so that we're all safe to go and we can just use them without falling off and out of our base every time. And yeah, this is actually going to be quite an extensive place, quite a big base, but I mean, that's nice. You don't have to do a lot of work, but you still have a pretty big base and a lot of space. Nice views of the river as well. There we go. We got these platforms almost done. Of course, again, if you have the ASR, these little smaller pillars are amazing to, you know, spice up those railings a little bit more. Really wish and really still hope that they will come to normal ARK someday. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world if you don't have them, of course. Just a nice extra detail that you can do if you do have them. And then underneath, again, we're going to use some scaffolding to look like supports for these balconies, because otherwise they're kind of just floating there, and at least this looks like it's being supported. And again, if you do not have the scaffolding from the Frontier pack, the Bob Tall Tales DLC, you can also use normal wooden slope walls. And with that, we have pretty much the bases of our ruin base here, but I would kind of like to add a divider wall somewhere, maybe alongside this foundation line, because then we kind of can create a separate room, which I think will be nice. We'll have like a doorway here, or maybe we'll actually use a bigger doorway. So like we'll use the gateway as a doorway, and I don't think I'm gonna fill in the actual gate, but just have the gateway as a passage. I really like that in these bigger builds because it kind of fits with the size of the arches around here. And then we can just continue the wall on this side as well, and then pretty much just fill it in all the way to the top. I don't think it has to be any more complicated than that, because I think that's already looking pretty nice. Might want to remove the last one. Might be a little bit too high to the outside. We can in fact add a little bit of pillars here as extra supports and snap points as well, so we can fill in the rest of the wall. But that's probably all we really need to do. So we'll fill in this part above the gate. Yeah, that looks nice. So we'll have a nice little extra room, maybe a bedroom or something like that, whatever you decide to do with it. And then here, this doesn't look quite nice, so maybe if we end with a sloped wall instead, that would probably already be good. We could even use some roofs here and just, you know, completely close this little gap off, like so. Yeah, that probably works. Just so that it is, that little random gap is filled in a little bit better, and then probably can do the same thing here on this on this side, and just continue until we can't, and that should look good. Let's see. I don't think you will even notice from the outside because there's all plans on there anyway, so that's perfect. So we'll have a nice little room right here. And then of course we have this thing here on the outside. Now I'm using some ASR structures for this, but you could build this with the normal variations of course, but I just like these pillars from ASR a little bit better. The structure just looks a little bit nicer. Actually, I'm going to use some of these half pillars again for the remaining bit for the foundation, so they don't go down too deep into the structure, but we can still have that connection going on like that. So it looks like it's all properly being supported. Then we're going to make that too high. Probably going to have a bunch more beams, but I might want to have them be less thick than the main ones on the corner. I'm going to use these windows from ASR again. You could just use the normal windows available in ARK, like the Frontier glass windows, or even just doors or normal windows would work if you don't have anything else. And we're going to start our sloped wall right like this for the top part of this building, because you want to have that little overlap going on. We'll use these walls and then just connect up the rest of the shape to make it all look nice and good like so. And then we'll just fill in the remaining wall in the middle there. There's a little bit of gaps, but that's where we're going to add in some extra pillars at some point to make sure there's no random gaps. I'm going to use these windows every other structure, I think, just because I really like the look of it, and I really think they fit in very well with this great like structure for the style that I'm building in. Of course, you can always easily add those or change those to anything else, or other windows if you prefer that, or another building if you don't want to use this style that I'm using right here. And we'll just fill all this in again. These little gaps between the walls, we'll fill them in with pillars in a little bit. So I think we'll go for a slightly thinner pillar than we used on the corner, and then just fill in these bits so that it doesn't look like the wall has like gaps in between those different parts. And then we'll use the half ones down there, just so that we are properly supported into the main ruin structure as well. And of course repeat it on the other side so that everything is nicely connected. And then we've got the basic shape of this building pretty much done already, which is quite fast. It's not too complicated, of course. The complicated part will be in the roof, which will be easier with ASR, but you can also make a variation, as I said at the start, with normal ARK with a little bit of overlapping. Alright, let's get some quarter ceilings to fill in this little gap like so. And then we have the snap points that we need to start with the roof as well. Just continue all the way. We're going to have a little bit of overlapping here, but we're just going to have to accept it, I think. We definitely don't want to make it any worse, so we'll have to change the roof at the end a little bit to make sure that the gate is still, you know, easily accessible and it doesn't look like the gate is being blocked by this structure. So like that should be fine. And then we're going to start with the roof with a little overlap to the front using these stone roofs, because stone is the only one where you actually have the same texture for the roof as for the ramps. But of course, if you have ASR, you actually do have roofs in the same style, so you could actually use different variations if you would want to. Really don't know why we don't have that option in normal ARK. Seems like a simple one, since I mean the texture is there, we already have the slope, it's just called a ramp. Just give us the option to make the texture the same as the roof, because we can do so many more different roof shapes without the textures being completely different. But here we go, we can fill in the roof, a little bit of overlapping, but that's fine. And that is the start of it. Now, to make it a little bit more special, because this is quite a basic house shape, so we're going to start with the... Nope, not this one. We want to have the sloped roof or the ramps, and that is what we can do. Now, since I do have ASR, I can just do it like this, where it aligns with the building, and we have the corner for the shallow sloped roofs, or the shallow roofs. But of course, in normal ARK, you would have to do this a little bit different to get the same effect. If I do it all the way to the end, though, that doesn't look too good, because it's kind of locking the gate now, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think I need to change that a little bit by removing the last one, maybe, or maybe the last two, and then actually maybe make it like the corner like this, so that it just, you know, kind of shapes into the rest of the roof, and it still looks good enough, but it doesn't block the gate as much as it did before. And of course, we'll repeat this whole thing to the other side as well, just to make sure that we have our nice little roof. I really like this style when I designed it in normal vanilla ARK as well. But with these structures, it just makes it a little bit easier to get closer to what I was hoping to build. And then we're going to use these railings, and at the end, of course, just to add a little bit of extra detail. Are we going to be able to add it here? Maybe not. Maybe it's not allowing me for some reason to do what I normally do. But I guess that's fine. We can just go and add them only on that part. I guess we couldn't even do the diagonal corner piece anyway. So maybe just do it normally, like so, only on this part. Have it extend a little bit like this. I just prefer the way that looks. Yeah, and we'll just continue doing that all the way around, just to extend that roof that little bit more, adding this little edge, I guess, to it. I kind of like the way that looks. I've done it for all the buildings that I've done in this style, so at this point it's just the way it works for me when I see a building in this style. And yeah, again, here doesn't want me to place it, so I guess it's fine. We'll make the nice little edge along the front here as well, and then just closely, you know, have it go into that little shallower edge to make it all blend together like so. Really like the way that's turning out so far. I think it was a good call just to build a little building here on the top. Maybe you can do a little shape like this as well, just to add in something here on the back as details. That's probably going to be fine. Yeah, that looks good. I like the look of that. Then we're pretty much done here. We could add in maybe some windows actually here on the top, because why not? You want to be able to look outside, right? That looks good. And then we'll have to have the pillars right there as well to close those gaps. And then maybe we'll have one right there as well as a little bit more detail. And then we're pretty much there. I just want to make sure that we got the little details on the roof that I usually do. Can we add it there? Yeah, we can make it go into the ruin like that. And then, of course, in the front we'll have it the normal way like we always have it. And then we want to paint this building. I really like painting structures. I think it's a great way to really change the look and vibe of a structure. Can we actually do this? You might be able to do what I normally would do. Just, I guess that works. For some reason, wouldn't allow me to do. Oh, it does allow me to do that now. I guess. I mean, that's fine. It's at the back. You're not really gonna see it anyway. There we go. We got the house that I usually build. I will paint it though. But yeah, that is a completely new base. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed. And I hope to see you around in the next video. Goodbye.